I quite enjoy this time of year when you're putting plants to bed because it means I get to use these a lot. And there's something satisfying about cutting something back and reshaping it and putting it away for the winter, protecting it, and then in the spring it grows back up again. So that is really good. So this is what this video is about. This is all about a little bit of winter preparation. Now, yesterday I brought my big tub of Pelargonium in, and it's the same as this one here. And I took a huge amount of material off it. So this is it all still in the wheelbarrow here. Now, a lot of you would probably go, oh, look at all that cutting material. I've got too many. So I am very good at going, no, I do not need to make any more of these, because not only have got my big tub, I've got the cuttings I took last year, which are that plant there, but I've got about 4 or 5 in little pots like this sitting in the house. I don't need them. I don't need them. I'm keeping them going for what? Because these ones are the ones that I really enjoy. These ones, as you can see, have gone and got a little bit leggy. So what am I going to do? So these ones like this are going to be cut back. I don't want all of this top growth, and no, I'm not going to be taking any cuttings. So I'm just going to look wherever there has been an old leaf growing, you will see these notches and marks, and from all of those notches and marks there are tiny little buds, latent buds waiting to go, rah, I'm about to grow. So I am going to cut these quite low, so I'm going to go down to there and I'm cutting above where the joint is, so like that, and that bit is going to go in the bin. I'm not worried about that. There are 2 tiny little buds there that are going to grow back. I'll keep that for a close-up and then you can see what's going to happen there. Right, so what I was trying to explain about with these is the fact that these are your leaf joints here, and that there is your little new bud, if you can see that. I'm trying to get this in focus. Okay, so we're talking about this being the leaf where the leaf was, and that joint there, that is your bud. So if I turn it around slightly like so, you can see that this is where the leaf has excised off it, and that is the bud. So you are cutting above that to get your thing. So again, there's one here. There is that bud down there. So this is what you are looking for when you are cutting them down. So again, here we go. Wherever there is a leaf gone, there is always a new bud. Now I like to take them quite low, and I took that one quite low here. Now this is a long and straggly point, so I am going to cut it just above that bud there, and it's going to be cut off. So we have now got a nice clean cut. We've got the bud left, and that is a good plant. So that is the one which will be stored. So what I did with my big pot here, as you can see, there are 3 plants in this one. Now I bought this originally as a lovely big container. I've kept it for 2 years, so that's pretty good going for me. And basically all I do is I repot it every year. So there are 3 plants in there. I lift it out in the spring, repot it, give it a whole load of food, and then I water it and keep it. It was looking stunning, but I knew there was frost coming. So I brought it in and cut it back before the frost. And then the other thing that I brought in and decided that it was really not looking very happy, and this is my begonia. And the begonias have got tubers in them, so they can't stay outside in the frost. They don't work. This one happens to be a really lovely bright red one like this. It had been looking really good. We'd had one frost, that knocked it back. We had another frost last night, and so I was so glad that I brought these in before that to a certain degree, because it was already looking unhappy. So it can die back down in here, no problem at all. Unfortunately, I forgot these 2 which are outside, but luckily it wasn't that hard a frost, so I haven't completely lost them. But this little one is a little bit untidy. It's got old dead growth on it. It's a really sweet little one. It's got lovely tiny little flowers on it and beautiful tiny little foliage, which is actually, yes, it is scented. I can't remember. yeah, slightly minty scented. But I'm going to probably be very cruel and probably take it right the way back down there. I haven't quite worked it out yet. I'll have a think about that, because, you know, you sort of look at them, but if you look at it, it's in the pot there. Yes, I could repot it and stand it upright, which would be fine, but it's going to get leggy. It's got a dead piece here. Those two new growths are quite nice. So what I might do is just shorten everything down, and then it will look a lot better. Can't remember its name, but I don't mind, because at the end of the day, it's happy and it's a really lovely plant. Now I've taken that one out from the house, I've got another pot that I can put another house plant in, because that's not going to do much, so they can come out here. So let's have a look at what I would do to this. So the first thing I would do is make sure that I've got all of the weed out, and any of the dead leaf that's at the bottom. We can get more of that as we go on. Now this is going to go down quite a long way. I don't like the branches which are going over the top of the pot, so we're going to get rid of those to start off with, and then we'll have a look at where we are with it. I try to do it in stages, because if you don't cut too much off, obviously you can't put it back on again. So it's looking at, I've got a crossing over here. So this is the same as when you prune anything. If you've got crossover, so these are growing into each other. This is the younger shoot and that is the older shoot there. So I'm going to get rid of the older shoot first. And again, I'll take it to above a set of leaves. So that then leaves me with this one free, and I may leave that one a little bit higher and take off an older leaf like that. This little bit is coming into it, because what you don't want to have, even with your pelargoniums, is that you do not want to have, and the leaves just break off nicely, so that's all you have to worry about there. You do not want to have congestion, because congestion and them going up against each other and rubbing. So what I tend to do is give them a little bit of a top off like that, and that's fine, because they're not going to need any compost. So you've got it left like this. So this, I obviously had done 5 cuttings in this pot. 2 obviously didn't work, 3 did. Then I just potted them up and let them go on, but it filled up and made a really nice shape. Now at the end of the day here, this one is still a little bit high. It's got lovely little buds here. I'm not going to cut that off yet, because this isn't close enough, so I'll be able to show you what I'm going to be doing with that. We'll do a little bit of a close-up on there. I've had a little think about this one now, and again, I just want to tidy it up, so I am just literally, start as always, get rid of the dead. That's the first thing you do, get rid of any dead pieces. Then have a little look, and I've decided I'm just going to take it down fractionally and see how it looks once I've taken it down fractionally. That's going out a little bit too wide, a little bit too heavy, and that's going there. And then what I found with this one is it's got a lot of dead material on it. There's a lot of old leaf and everything else. Now you need to remove all of that old leaf, because that can just get bacteria and fungus growing in it. So you want to leave the plant as clean as possible. Now this one's quite fiddly, because there's an awful lot of this dead old leaf in here, and that's what you really want to be getting rid of. I'm getting rid of any weed at the bottom of the pot as well. It can have a little bit of a tidy off there, and then we've got an old flower stem there, and we will eventually have this completely clean. Any yellow leaves, they need to go, because the yellow leaves are just dying off, and then we're left with a really nice plant like so, which can overwinter. So now they're going to overwinter here within the tunnel. They'll be kept at +5 degrees, so they won't really grow, but they won't be watered. They're going to go underneath the bench, just sit there under the bench all winter long, and then in the spring, once it gets a little bit warmer in here, and we can give them water and a bit of a feed, then they'll be going, and then they'll go back outside again for next season for me to just put them around in amongst all my pots. So that is how we do with that. And then we had this little beauty, lovely leaf, all cleaned up, a better shape plant at the end of cutting back. So the remains of the plants, yeah, I could have taken cuttings, but as I said, I have got masses of plants, so I didn't need to. And then here they are in their winter quarters underneath the bench. They'll be quite happy there. It's quite easy to not actually get to water them. So they'll just sit there until the spring, when I will restart them all again, repot them and get them outside to flower beautifully. If you enjoy learning about gardening from me, then why not take a look at my propagation workshop? This is an online course and this is all about herbaceous perennials. So you are going to learn all of the skills that are required to propagate more plants from your garden for free. For more information, please click the link in comments below. Or you can scan the QR code on the screen right now. So dahlias, what are we doing about those? So here at the nursery, we tend to take dahlia cuttings. We put 12 in a tray like this because then when they are taken out, we then pot up into trays which contain 12 plants in a 1 litre pot. So these cuttings were taken in the middle of August. They were taken week 32, and that is the last time that we took any cuttings off the dahlias. The dahlia stock plants were then given a trim back, or were allowed to flower so that we could use some of the flower for flower arrangements, which is great. That's absolutely no problem at all. And then when we didn't need that anymore, the stock plants are moved outside, and the stock plants were moved outside in the middle of September, when we had the idea was that we always wait until we've had one frost and then we move them outside so they're no longer protected, and then they sit out there and they just continually get the winter cold going through to them really quite nicely. They'll get frosted and then they'll start to die back down. When they die back down, they will then seal their crowns, and that is what we do. So let's go outside and have a look and see what we've done with the stock plants. So here we have all of our varieties of dahlias going through fusion. This one is Hamari Rose. Then we go down to Haresbrook, this little low one. We've got the beautiful big red one here, which is Christopher Taylor, going on through to Bishops, all the way through. So nearly all of them, in fact, the majority of them are all here. Oh no, they're not. There are a few over there as well. I was thinking there were some varieties missing. And basically they were all cut down to this sort of height. Now we had a 0.8 degree last night, so that was a ground frost. So they don't look at all perturbed at the moment. But over the next sort of, maybe couple of weeks, we might get some colder ones, and then you'll start to see them really hitting. But they are at a point now where, although they've put on bud, they're sort of stopping. That's what we want them to do. We want them to slowly stop growing and naturally start to senesce, so that the energy that they've got in these leaves can go into the tubers, rather than suddenly cutting them all off and then they don't get all of that good energy back into the tubers. So we find this is the best way to do it. Once they've all died down and they look a horrible black mush, they're not, the top's dead but the bottom isn't, then we will clear that off. They will stay in these crates, in their containers, go underneath the benches like the Pelargoniums and the Begonias, and they'll sit there all the way through the winter without any water, frost free, in the slightly darker area, and they're absolutely fine there. And then in the spring, as they come up, so we can take tip cuttings. By that time in the spring, those wonderful cuttings in those trays will have already been potted up, because at the moment they've produced a tuber about the size of a 50p piece. Sorry, I have to use what I know. So sort of, about 2 centimetres across tuber, maybe about an inch. And that is what they're overwintering on. Those will also defoliate at a certain point, because they aren't going to stay green all the way through, even though they're in +5 in there. They will eventually die back down, and in the spring they'll come back with lovely new growth, ready to go, beautiful new plants, and then you will get these fabulous dahlia flowers. Aren't they beautiful? So any dahlias that we've got left over that haven't been sold through the season, which is not very many as you can see by this, are all, if they were inside, brought outside. If they were on the sales area, brought through to here. And again, it's the same thing as the tubers. We basically, okay, they'll get rain on them, but we need them to get frosted. We need them to start thinking it's time to die off, it's time to senesce. We need to be putting our energy into the tubers that are in the pots here, and then once that's happened, again, we'll cut off the tops, move them inside. These will go into a cold polytunnel where they can get frozen, but they're just stacked in there, and they won't be watered until the spring. And then in the spring we'll give them some water, we'll repot them, and away they go again. So it's lovely and simple, but we need them to naturally die down. So there we have a bit of plant material that needs to be protected for the winter months. Hopefully this gives you an idea what you can do. You can scale it down to your own size, whatever you have in your garden to be able to do it with. And remember, things like dahlias don't have to be inside a cold greenhouse. They can be in a shed because they can go in the dark. So all in all, you can scale it all down to your own means. Thank you very much for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel. If you want to watch another video of mine, YouTube thinks this one is perfect for you.